All right. 1 Timothy 3:16. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness, which is God is manifested in the flesh, justified by the Spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, and received up into glory. 1 Timothy 3:16, 1599 Geneva Bible. All right, I'm responding to Jonathan Burris and his anger with the King James onlyness, because we're trying to put God into 1 Timothy 3:16. So I've got this opened up here, and as I said, this is the Geneva Bible, and it's also got this verse, but it has footnotes, and this is neat because this is somebody in 1599 what they're looking at when they see this. So you have two footnotes, A and B. A, they say there is nothing more excellent than the truth, whereof the church is the keeper and preserver here amongst men, the ministry of the word being appointed to that end and purpose, for it teacheth us the greatest matters that may be thought of, to wit, that God is become visible in the person of Christ by taking our nature upon him, whose majesty notwithstanding in so great weakness was manifested many ways, insomuch that the sight of it pierced the very angels. And to conclude, he being preached on unto the Gentiles was received of them, and is now placed above in glory unspeakable. Second note, the power of the Godhead showeth itself so marvelously in that weak flesh of Christ, that though he were a weak man, yet all the world knoweth he was and is God. So that was their natural reaction to 1 Timothy 3:16. And Jonathan Burris says, hey, it's about those evil King James onlyists. Well, I guess anyone defending the King James onlyists, or the 1 Timothy 3:16, must be a King James onlyist. All right. Well, listen to this guy, okay, defending it. He says, there is much to be said in defense of the KJV rendering of 1 Timothy 3:16, as God was manifest in the flesh. In fact, I prefer this reading and feel that it has more sufficient support from the Greek manuscripts. Wow, dude. You're like totally a TR KJV guy. Obviously, you don't have a clue, sir. What are you talking about? And who is that KJVTR guy? James White? Yes, James White said that in the King James Bible Controversy, page 207. So, maybe, there's more people than just these dreaded Ruckmanite KJV guys. Okay? And I'm sorry that they don't fit the paradigm, because obviously, Jonathan Burris, you know, he wouldn't know something about the King James Bible Controversy book. Obviously, since he's taking that position, he's never read that book. Uh-huh. um, something interesting is the fact that Jonathan Burris actually only uses the Alexandrian manuscripts in his argumentation. Well, he hasn't really established why he believes that the that the Alexandrian manuscripts should be the particular uh, text. Now, he might have done this in other videos. I'm not, responded to all of them, so we'll see if that comes up a little further down the road. But essentially, he says this is not attacking the deity of Christ when it says he was manifested in the flesh. Well, I tell you what, I went to YouTube and I put 1 Timothy 3:16 into my search button, and I found this. 1 Timothy 3:16, Grace the Mystery of Godliness, ? Joe Hill and Dan Gill. And both of them argued that they thought that the KJV did so without any Greek support, which was interesting. But they are, from the Oneness Pentecostal camp, but apparently they've changed their ways and they've become Arians. Okay? Or at least something close enough to Arian. I mean, some people like to use the title semi-Aryan or whatever, but essentially, yeah, they've decided to, go with Jonathan Burris's reading and deny the Trinity. No matter what, they've definitely denied the Trinity, and they deny the TR reading alongside Jonathan Burris. And then also, I came across many years ago, almost got into a debate, but we had some technology issues, unfortunately on my side. But there was a fella I met many years ago, Drake Shelton. Drake Shelton was a Calvinist, and very strongly opinionated Calvinist, mostly a Clarkian for whatever time period he was. But eventually he found himself leaving all of that, and he was a critical text guy. And now he is an Arian. He fashions himself as the Southern Israelite, and you can look at all his weird little ideas. But essentially, he was very, very high intellectual. Okay, there's no denying that he wasn't intelligent. He just wasn't very wise. And so he followed that critical text and eventually got to this position. So, he probably could have used the Texas Receptus being his authority. And unfortunately, he didn't go that path. But, once again, there are people who have, taken the critical text side on this and gone into heresy. Now, I did a little bit of looking over at Bible Gateway, and it's interesting. Now, we're not getting any Latin support on this one, although there's lots of it has lots of support among the Spanish Bibles, like the Reina Valeras. I saw 4 of them. Only one of them was kind of downplaying the road of Theos. However, it is in the Texas Receptus, both in, I think they used Stephanus, and then also they had the 1894 Scrivener. So there are Greek manuscripts that do support this. And, James White was convinced that there was a lot of Greek manuscripts that support it. I'm not going too deep because once again, I don't think it needs that much representation. Once you've gotten the fact that it has reached the majority of Christendom, okay, which if it's in the King James, it has reached the majority of Christendom, but it's also reached through other translations and foreign translations too. So, I looked and there were a couple surprising ones. There's a Amplified Classic. So I think a lot of the Amplified goes against that reading, but there was an Amplified Classic Edition. And the Classic Edition, let me just go ahead and read that real quick. This is great and important and weighty. we confess is the hidden truth, the mystic secret of godliness. He, God, was made visible in human flesh. So the Amplified usually doesn't have it, but in this edition, they did have it. It's important that you realize that it's not just the KJV by itself. The 21st century KJV has it, and also, of course, the modern English version has it, and things like the BRG Bible. I don't think that one is particularly focused on the King James readings, but it does have God was manifest in the flesh. Let's see here. There was one called the Jubilee Bible, and that kind of has a feel. Kind of thinking maybe that's like Pentecostal or something, or maybe Catholic. But it also has the God was manifest in the flesh reading. So you have many different types of translations that are giving it support, and the Greek and Hebrew is giving it support. And you have to, ask yourself, what is this doing to the text? And essentially, you have he was manifest in the flesh. Well, that's nice, but I was manifest in the flesh. Everybody was manifest in the flesh. So, whoop-de-doo. But yet, God was manifest in the flesh. That is a great mystery. There is a lot of power in that. And I might also hit one thing when we talk about the text type issues and the text type differences. You notice, and I don't want to let this one go. He did say in Codex Sinaiticus, or Sinaiticus, or which way you want to pronounce it. And that codex, they do have a note to insert theos in there. In fact, I'll tell you who I think put that note in there. Constantine Simonides. Because Constantine Simonides claimed to have completely fabricated the Codex Sinaiticus, but we think he was overplaying his hand, and we think it was a combination of the lifelong work of his uncle, Benedict of Athos, and then he would finish up that work in the 1800s, because we don't really have any tracing of the manuscript prior to the 1800s. So when you have Constantine Simonides claim that he did it, and they say, well, he's a forger, so he's a liar. But he's claiming he forged it, so he's a forger. And there is, as far as I know, there's no carbon dating on this. They say it's the science of paleography. Well, I mean, that can help out to a point, but it can't be an exact science. All right, because all you're just doing is look at somebody's handwriting. You can fake somebody's handwriting. So, why do we need to understand this? Well, the fact is that over 99%, and that's kind of coming from Kurt Aland, which, I mean, we found some more manuscripts, but really, that's really the bulk of the manuscripts. I mean, like, um, if you find 200 or 300 more, you're lucky. But generally, over 99% of the manuscripts of what Kurt Aland found were all from that family called the Byzantine text family. So, really, that means it's the majority. That means it's the one text. So 1 Timothy 3:16 kind of fits more of that. Whereas he has two manuscripts he talks about. He didn't mention Vaticanus here for some reason. But then he brings up St. Nidicus, and then there's that, Theos right over there. And the thing is, when you look, it's not the, and I'm not a great Greek scholar, I'll admit, but it's not the nomina sacra. If you look at the received text, it's just Theos, Theos. So there it is. manifested and the Sarky. Alright, so whatevs. Catch you all later.